This is Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002. Sparks is one of the G.I. Joe characters that was created for television, later seen in comics, who finally had an action figure in 2007. Why they created Sparks since Breaker was around is a bit weird. Sparks was a communications officer, much like Breaker, did not see much action, but was featured in a few G.I. Joe cartoon episodes from the 1980s. As is the case with characters created for television or comics, they eventually get an action figure and a little bit more details on who they are. This is the case with Sparks, who was explained as an early liaison and reserve member of the G.I. Joe team, was not exactly a combatant, but was an expert in information technologies and communication. I don't expect the G.I. Joe Classified line to ever do a Sparks. That could be possible. So I've decided to make my own. Why? Well, I've had this second Breaker set with the Rhyme motorcycle for a while. Breaker obviously was the perfect figure to create green shirts and army builders. I was looking for a character that I could use with the same communication helmet as Breaker that would fit in, and obviously for me, Sparks was the perfect character, being the kind of G.I. Joe soldier that will probably or very remotely see an action figure made of him for the G.I. Joe Classified line. Now, if they ever did, I would be very happy. And I can reuse most of what Breaker comes with Sparks. Now, the one thing with Breaker is that he came with a helmet, a machine gun, and a ram cycle. No weapons whatsoever. No backpack, nothing else. I gave both Sparks and Breaker guns. In the case of Breaker, he's holding something that came with the Commando Snake Eyes, while Sparks is just sporting a Valverse weapon. One of the issues with creating Sparks was finding an alternate head that I did not have to Dremel or to use blue filler inside of the socket of the head so that the peg from the neck could fit in. So I've been looking for the proper head to use on Breaker's body for quite a while. I found that head with the Marvel Legends series, Captain America 2-pack, Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson. There was an extra head in the set based on Chris Evans, the actor who played Captain America in the MCU. The peg on that head fit exactly the one on Breaker's body. The only issue is that the neck is a bit long because the head is not Dremeled enough. So I just figured that Spark would be one of those guys with a very long neck. It doesn't matter. It actually differentiates him just enough from Breaker. The skin tone from the Chris Evans head does not perfectly match the neck color from Breaker's body, but it's close enough. It's a little bit difficult to fit Breaker's helmet on Chris Evans' head, but it works. If you work hard at it, you'll see that you can fit the helmet. It's a helmet anyway. If you have a problem, just put the helmet in hot water for a while and just slide it in on the character's head and it's just going to fit in. Now I wanted to get the second ram cycle because I really like that bike. It's really nice, but obviously I wanted to have a different figure manning that bike. It's a bit of a shame that Hasbro has not released green shirt army builders yet or some of the original 13 Joes yet that could fit the ram cycle, but it's giving collectors like me and you opportunities to create new characters or revisit other characters that are probably very far from being ever produced, like Sparks. Which one of you even knew that there was a character called Sparks? One of the issues with both Breaker and Sparks is that their articulation are very flimsy. The hip articulation is one of the worst of all the classified line. You need to put them in warm water often if you want to even move them around. I can already see some stress marks on the T-bar inside of the crotch and hip articulation. I've barely played with that figure. It should not be. It's also one of the reasons why I dislike the drop-down feature so much, because the T-bar inside of the socket of the hips and the crotch are too flimsy, too thin, and they break easily. Now, I haven't broken any of my classified figures' hips yet, but I dread that day. I think it's easy to replace, but I don't really want to go through that. I wish that we didn't have a drop-down feature and we had solid hip articulations instead. You can't quite bend Sparks or Breaker's bodies because of the vest that they wear. Another negative is the lack of a communication pack that they can wear as a backpack. They should have had one. I can understand that they have a communicator with a visor and that it's almost what is needed, but some kind of computer apparatus would have been fun with Breaker. Neither comes with pistols or knives, and again, that's a drawback for the figures. You need to find your own set of materials if you want to dress them up. Speaking of which, it's about time that Hasbro releases a weapons and backpack set for the classified lines. It would help collectors like you and I who are into kit bashing do something with this and customize their figures. Fortunately, many other companies have filled that gap with their own offerings. Since the G.I. Joe Classified collection has started, it seems that the team has focused a bit more on Cobra than G.I. Joe, which is why we're lacking so many green shirts and regular troops to fill the ranks. There are more Cobra army builders than anything else. Now I'm happy with what I've got with Sparks now. It's not special per se, but it makes a collection looks nicer. That's it for now. Like and subscribe to Comic Book Bin. And this was Hervé presenting some kit bashing for Sparks.